G'day mates, in today's video I want to kick off talking about the huge new weapon update Epic just dropped today. We've been asking for so long for the Combat SMG and the Burst AR to be nerfed, and Epic finally listened. We also saw the new Hammer AR and the double shot shotgun buffed, but they also changed how these guns work a little bit, so I want to talk to you guys about how you can best use the weapons with their new stats and the way they work, and should you be now running the double shot shotgun over the striker, which one is better. Also, we had the announcement of Clix's new duo, and you will never guess who this is. I am not overhyping this. This is one of the biggest duo formations we have ever seen before. This is going to make this season of FNCS one of the most exciting you've ever watched, just because of what this team means going forward. Also, I have all the details for the new DreamHack Sweden format that just got announced today for the $200,000 LAN event next week, and we have leaks of one of the most beloved POIs from Chapter 1 coming back to the game later this season. It's a stacker of a video. Let's just jump into it. Epic is not messing around in Chapter 3 Season 3 with adjustments to the loot pool. Only a couple days in, we had the Shockwaves and Heavy Sniper vaulted from competitive. I wasn't super happy with that update. I already made a video talking about that, but now we've had another update that actually looks really, really good. Fortnite Status tweeting out, we've made a few balance adjustments today. 2-shot shotgun, increased pellet damage, minimum pellet count, accuracy, and max damage cap. So that is just a buff across the board. That is like 4 different buffs in one. Then we had the Hammer AR, reduced recoil, Striker Burst AR, which is the Burst AR, reduced damage and increased first bullet recoil, and then Combat SMG, reduced damage. Now, we had Hypex make out a tweet talking about all the stats, but really quickly, before I go through that, there was a bit of an issue. I don't know how this happened, but I had to reach out to Hypex myself because somehow they managed to buff the Combat SMG and then nerf it. So what looked like a 3 damage nerf ended up only being a 1 damage nerf. So the Combat SMG, the main gun most people waiting for to be adjusted and nerfed, only went down by 1 damage. It's still 1 damage. It's a step in the right direction, and I don't want to keep being negative about this. You guys know my thoughts on the SMG. I would have loved to see it dialed down a little bit more, but we're taking baby steps in the right direction. We're going to get there. We are going to get there. The other weapons, however, have had some very considerable updates. Like, you need to reevaluate your thoughts on these weapons and try them out again, because they are very, very different. Not just like 1 damage difference. For example, the 2-shot shotgun, the minimum hit pellets buffed from 3 to 4. So what that means is if you whiff your shot and you only hit them a little bit, instead of hitting 3 pellets at minimum, you hit 4. Now remember, you hit 2 shots. So instead of having 6 pellets, you're now hitting 8. So when each pellet does a little bit of damage, that adds up. But you've got to remember now, the maximum damage has gone from 75 at lowest rarity to 80 on each shot. So that's 10 overall. So every single buff that the double shot shotgun got has to be doubled. So it is a considerable buff. You have to play around with it. I haven't had too much chance to use it myself to say whether it's now better than the Striker. I don't think it's going to be, but it's a step in the right direction, because all I can find sometimes on spawn is this weapon, and sometimes I got to use it. So I guess if it's a little bit stronger, that's going to be awesome. I don't think it'll ever overtake the Striker, but again, steps in the right direction. The Burst AR, however, has now had its damage decreased by 2 to builds and to players. So 2 damage at every single rarity, but the main thing with the Burst AR, if you remember the actual tweet itself, is the recoil. It has reduced damage and increased first bullet recoil. So that means there's more of a kick on the second shot, so it's a lot harder to control. It's still a red dot. It's still going to be an absolute demon for Surge, but it's good to see Epic isn't just adjusting damage values. They're actually adjusting some elements of the game that I think really do need work. I've talked about how the recoil in Fortnite, in my opinion, just isn't strong enough for how much damage the guns do. If you're going to implement recoil as a mechanic, you need to make the damage of the guns higher, but make the recoil higher so it equals out. Right now, if you have good aim, the burst rifle is an absolute joke. It is so easy to hit double shots back to back consistently, especially for pro players, and that's why its damage is so high. So it's awesome to see they're hitting that point. They're not just nerfing damage, they're actually looking at the core elements of the gun. The other one being the Hammer AR with the reduced recoil, because I hate the Hammer AR. I don't know about you. Using it close range feels fine. It does actually shoot pretty fast. Kind of feels like a SCAR in the box almost, but at range, it has horizontal recoil, and I've been talking to a lot of pros and a lot of players about this. It feels like the recoil is RNG, and I know recoil by definition is supposed to be like somewhat random, but like sometimes it pulls left, sometimes it pulls right, and then I've got Bloom on top of that. Like, it just feels like a really unenjoyable gun to use. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot get my head around the Hammer AR. Maybe in another meta without the burst, it might be a lot stronger, but I'm just still running the burst for range and the SMG for close range. But after this reduced recoil buff, I'm gonna have to give it another try, because if the recoil is considerably reduced, this gun does have big potential. But overall, it's the second massive update we've had in only about 4 or 5 days into the season, and whether you like the updates or dislike the updates, I'm gonna have to give Epic props for at least them putting in a lot of effort to kick off this season, trying to get the balance changes. I still would argue you don't need a preseason to adjust these weapons. We could just be testing them in Arena, because we've talked about it. Arena is not that competitive, so you might as well be testing these weapons in there anyway. But I want to keep this video positive. We are seeing Epic make big adjustments quick into the season, and I think they really are nailing the points of the guns that I want to see adjusted. I'd like to see them tune them a little bit more. It seems like they're always happy to nerf them, but just they don't want to dial it too far, which I get. Maybe there'll be another nerf in a few days where all the damage goes down by 1 again. Who knows? Let's hope. We got the official confirmation today that the NRG duo is no longer. Clix and Day have split up, and it came courtesy of Clix announcing his new duo mate. And this is someone I guarantee almost no one would have predicted. Some people, some pros who kind of knew or hearing whispers were predicting Clix was going to go to EU to play with Pink, and they were half right. Pink is Clix's new duo, but as far as I'm aware, Pink is actually going to be coming to NA, because Clix said Clix x Pink NA 2022. So it looks like we're going to have one of our first ever EU players coming over and competing on NA East, and doing it with none other than Clix, the biggest Fortnite competitive content creator on NA East. It is going to be absolutely ridiculous. What do I think this means for this team going forward? Obviously, it means Clix is stepping out of that IGL role. He is going back to a fragger role. And if a lot of you guys watched last FNCS, I think you understand this decision. Clix grew a lot as a player. He got a lot smarter. He clearly put in the work, but he's still not at that point of being a tier 1 IGL like Pink. Meanwhile, if you've been watching Clix take any of his fights, you know his mechanics and his fighting ability are still very much tier 1. So you combine those new skills of better communication, better mentality, learning and understanding the game better, but you combine that with an IGL like Pink, who knows how to get Storm Surge and knows how to play that early and mid game, which is where Clix is lacking. You've got a recipe for success. I'm just so excited to see how this duo goes. I don't know where Pink is going to be. I don't know when he's going to get to NA, but all I know is Pink is coming to NA to compete with Clix. And now we have one of our first times ever seeing a tier 1 EU player come over to NA, and let's see if they can prove it's easy as they all say. Everyone, a lot of EU fans, a lot of EU pros always talking about how NA is a Mickey Mouse region. It's free. Any good EU player would run up NA East, and let's see it. We now have a tier 1 IGL coming over, and I genuinely do think Pink is going to do phenomenally well on NA East with Clix. I'm going to jump into talking about those confirmed crazy map changes in just a second. I wanted to talk about the DreamHack Sweden format that just got announced. DreamHack Sweden is a $200,000 LAN event that is taking place in less than 10 days on the 18th to 21st of June. We have a regular Battle Royale solos event for a $100,000 prize pool, and then a zero build solos tournament for $100,000. A lot of my focus is going to be on the Battle Royale tournament more so than the zero builds, but we have Heat 1 and Heat 2 taking place on Saturday the 18th of June. Top 30 from both of those are going to go through straight into the finals, and then we have a Heat 3 taking place on Sunday, where the top 40 is going to go through into the finals. I know a lot of you guys are thinking, why aren't they using the DreamHack Anaheim format, where it was top 200 from both the heats go through to a semifinals, from that top 400, top 100 go through? And I love that format as well, but I don't know if we have that many people going to Sweden, being the first major LAN event we've seen in Fortnite in quite a while. We had Dallas recently, but that was a bit more of like a warm-up and a test for Sweden. I will also mention this one is going to be ran in the compete tab, so we're not going to have any issues of custom servers being super laggy. You guys are going to be able to see all the leaderboards in the compete tab. If you guys want to follow the tournament, I am actually being flown to Sweden, and I'll be streaming every single day from the 18th to the 21st, doing full broadcast casting, bringing you guys all the action from Sweden, interviewing pros. I'm even going to try and get a streamer backpack so I can walk the floor and show you guys some really, really cool stuff. It's going to be a great time. So twitch.tv/AussieAntics. Make sure you chuck me a follow. Don't miss out on that one. We also got the prize pool and the placement format being given out as well. First place is going to get $12,000. Last place is going to walk away with $200. So you're getting at least $200 for making finals, but 12 grand for first. And this is also the same for zero build. So someone in the zero build tournament is going to walk away with 12 grand first place, being able to earnings check FNCS winners in certain regions. Like, it's going to be crazy. I will probably watch the zero build finals if there's enough hype around and if I know some of the people playing, but obviously that is a big prize pool. As far as the scoring format, it looks like DreamHack sticking to their notorious placement-heavy format. It is solos, and it's 60 points for a win, and each elim is 3. So 20 points equals a win in solos. That is a very, very placement-heavy format, and you're going to start getting placement as early as top 50. So really, really top-heavy placement format. You're going to get a placement point for every single place all the way up until first, and it starts to pick up a little bit into that top 3 to give you more than just one single point. As far as the finals, it is exactly the same as far as placement, but elims are going to be bumped up from 3 points per elim to 5. So now it's 12 elims for a win. So still a pretty placement heavy format, but it's definitely very, very placement heavy in the heats. I believe Zero Builds is going to be the exact same from what I can see as well. We've talked about weapon changes, now we have map changes, and this isn't just from a leak. We have Fortnite Games themselves tweeting out, time to rebuild Tilted, and this time you are the architect. Design your own building to be constructed in the new Tilted Towers POI and get ready to submit your design once we open up submissions. So this is the block 2.0. Now, I don't believe this is the entire block. This isn't just a giant flat area of land that's going to be just mowing down Tilted and you can build a huge castle like we saw in chapter 1. But it looks like instead you're going to be able to build a building where no sweat insurance was in Tilted. This is still really, really cool though, and they go on to say, this was tweeted out by the Fortnite creative Twitter, that the designs are going to be voted on, but finalists will be voted on in-game later this season. Now, that doesn't mean late this season, so I don't really know what the timing is for this. Again, this could be in the middle of FNCS for all we know. It is only changing one building, not an entire POI, but if you guys remember the old block where people would just make the most broken drop spot, they'd add in like a million ammo crates that add so much loot to it. I mean, now that you can add coolers, like you can add like chug barrels, you could add a slurp truck in there, you could add whatever you want in this POI, and if people vote for it and majority are going to be casuals, they're going to like the big shiny fun building, it is going to go into the game including competitive. So this could be really, really interesting to see how it changes up the map, because depending on how this works and whether there's going to be multiple, like there's going to be one each week like the old block, or it's only going to happen once and that is just the building, this will massively affect not just competitive but the game in general. And overall, I love the idea of the block. I actually wish we'd go back to having an entire POI that is the block that we let the community build. You're basically getting map changes done for free, built by your audience who will build things that they want to play and they want to see. Like, I'm totally for the block coming back completely. If it's just one building, I mean, hey, that's better than nothing, but I mean, I'm arguing for an entire block POI and I don't think I'm the only one. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.